Chapter 5 is still about hip hop culture, but we are looking at films. Films that are connected with hip hop culture. Films that are hip hop adjacent. Here we look at the representation of black women in films. You see me coming. So the author says that it is very interesting that we have all these films about life in the inner cities, but whenever we talk about black women living there, we're acting like things are okay for them, and we forget that these women living in these environments also face violence, threats, and hostility. We forget that some of them are involved in gangs. We forget that some of them are trying to navigate extremely challenging situations due to their environment. And usually in films, this is something that is largely ignored. Indeed, the life stories or the portrayal of the experiences of women, of black women in inner cities, is often ignored or trivialized. Female characters tend to be peripheral characters and are usually flat, one dimensional characters, usually. If they are not trivialized, they are often the stereotypical image of the ghetto girl. This is well detailed, and although this book was published in 2004, inevitably this makes me think about Michelet, who has been completely erased from the movie Straight Out of Compton, where she was a big part of Ruthless Records.
You grew up in Los Angeles, right?
Yes.
Whereabouts?
South Central.
South Central. Okay.
Actually, one or many of these gentlemen were responsible for you being in the business, right?
Right. Dr. Fred Music is.
And they, yeah. Yeah.
The Mega.
The Mega!
Michelle.
And Drake, now tell us a little bit about what else is coming up for Michelle. Well, I gotta tell you all these
She
things.
got
Come
the
on.
super hype album coming out entitled Michelle, of course.
So once again, couldn't have been mentioned in this book because Straight Out of Compton is a really recent movie. But I'm immediately thinking about it. Like, for instance, Michelet, who was Dr. Dre's partner for many years. They had a child together. Dr. Dre produced Michelet's entire album. She was signed to Ruthless Records. She was very close to Eazy-E. She was close to the whole NWA group, but she's not present in the film at all. So once again, she's being made, worse than a peripheral character because she has been completely erased. What a shame. I mean, this is highly disappointing. Also, if you take into account that actually Michelet's first album has been instrumental in bringing more promotion, bringing more attention to Ruthless Record because her album was really successful. Dre produced it, they made great music together. So there is no reason why it was not mentioned because even in Dre's career as a producer, that was great work he produced with her. So he could have mentioned that in his own story. Okay, it's a shame. And also because I really love Michelet, I would have loved to see her in the movie. So going back to the book, this is chapter 5, and in chapter 5, the author provides us with a really nice critical analysis of significant, iconic work in films, in what we can call hip hop films or hip hop adjacent films. Alright, sorry, this part has been cut while I was editing, but I was saying that chapter 5 is not only focused on the representation of black women in hip hop adjacent films, but also in hip hop adjacent novels or what is called urban novels, like Fly Girls and Poetic Justice. Now, the author does say that it is very good because these were attempts at centering the experiences of black women in inner cities, but these films still showed limitations. For instance, some of the characters were lacking depth or consciousness. Some of them were a bit stereotypical, and unfortunately, a lot of the time, the male perspective dominated. Honestly, that was a beautiful chapter to read. I think it was one of my favorite chapters, chapter 5. The author also provides us with a really nice critical analysis of the film Just Another Girl on the IRT from Leslie Harris. She talks about this film in conjunction with the literary work of Sister Soldier and her novel called The Coldest Winter Ever that I have at home. Reading this book was interesting. This is something that I will remember. I mean, this is for me, it was a bit like, yeah, this is something I will remember. I have this book somewhere. Yes. Oh, let me go and find the book. There it is. Ha. Now, reading this book was very interesting. I think I should, I want to read it again. I need to find some time to read this book again. Whew, the coldest winter ever. Sister Soldier. I also want to read the sequel. But a lot of people have said that this book was the best of it all, of all the series. But I'm curious. I'm curious. Also, this book is special for me because I read it at a time where I was looking for myself in literature, in music, in films, and I grew up in France, and representation was scarce. So, I have my African roots, but I was born in France. So I also grew up in this other culture, in the French culture, and that's my citizenship. So I always felt in the middle and I was looking for things that I could relate to. So as a teenager, I was intensely, deeply, emotionally, and authentically drawn to African American literature because I could find myself in the books and in the stories. I felt included in this type of literature, whereas at school and in all the books I was reading in France, I was always excluded because the characters they did not have this cultural background that I had. And also, when I was reading books from authors living in Africa, I it was a bit difficult for me because I was not born there. So my experiences were again different. And I do feel like in African American literature, I could find that middle ground of having my cultural heritage, celebrating it, embracing it, and, cherishing my cultural heritage while understanding where I am growing and while accepting this other cultural side of me in the Western world, in Europe. So that's it. Why am I saying this? I think I'm saying this because yeah, that's why it's an important book for me. That was in my era where I was making big step as far as self-discovery was concerned in terms of understanding my position with my dual culture. I was finding myself, or I could relate a bit more to what I was reading. And it was one of the first books that really touched me where I was like, oh my God, they're talking about people that look like me. No, once again, listen, in this story, in the coldest winter ever, listen, I'm not a winter Santiago, not at all. But what I mean is that I could understand the environment. I can understand the environment. And after that, I've discovered the Toni Morrisons, the Alice Walker, and wow, it was fireworks in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful for the teenage me who was looking for her place, who was looking for meaning, who was looking for inclusion, acceptation, who was trying to understand her dual cultural identity, which is now becoming more than a dual cultural identity because I live in an English speaking country. My identity is now more than dual. It's definitely hybrid. Hybrid cultures. This is it, that's the beauty of the 21st century, richness, cultural richness, openness. That's what we represent. diversity, inclusion, celebrating cultures, unifying cultures, finding the common ground, celebrating love, staying rooted in love and acceptance. See, I'm talking too much again. I am impassionated tonight. This is hip hop. This is black women. This is literature. This is art. This is cultural history. If it wasn't a question of time, because it's actually night time, if it wasn't a question of time and a question of storage on my phone, I would be talking the whole night about hip hop, about culture, about literature, about black womanhood, about culture, about cultures. So the author talks about The Coldest Winter Ever, written by Sister Soldier and Another Girl on the IRT, because she says that these works do offer a more layered and a more authentic portrayal of black womanhood. So this has to be celebrated. We don't have a filter. This is more relatable, and as I said, that's great because, as I told you, the way it impacted me as a reader, it was beautiful. Feeling that for once someone talks about the experiences of women for real. I think I spoke a bit too loudly in the mic. Yeah, that for once, the voices of black girls, black women is there. It's amplified without a filter, without another gaze trying to kind of censor or filter our experiences. For me, it was fabulous. So yeah, according to the author, these two works offer something more interesting. It was a better immersive experience in terms of quality and in terms of intentions. These two works are really interesting because they do examine how the environment, how limited choices, and how sometimes complicity, like Winter Santiago, can shape black girls or black women's experiences. So it's good food for thoughts. Also, the author explains why the film Another Girl on the IRT is so interesting. Is because the main character really defies stereotypes and categorization. So we really move away here from flat characters. The author also says that, because I'm looking at this book, the author also says that Sister Soldier as an author is really interesting in The Coldest Winter Ever because she really pushes for accountability. And this is a big word that we all need. And she offers a critique, Sister Soldier offers a critique of blind materialism, of lack of connection, lack of consideration within a community, greed, competition, and essentially lack of love. Page 161, there is a really, really touching word because the author says, is it Gwendolyn saying this or is it Sister Soldier? Yeah, this is something that is related by Gwendolyn, the author in the book. So basically, very interesting. The dedication in The Coldest Winter Ever ponders on the disappearance of love in the black community. For Sister Soldier, the absence of love in the black community means the absence of loyalty, truth, honor, respect, humility, appreciation, family, and God. So here, clearly using your voice in the public sphere, in art, within the culture, to speak up, to demand accountability. In chapter 5, other works are mentioned to illustrate the attempts made to represent black womanhood, black girlhood in films. Overall, the author does call for diverse portrayals, layered portrayals, because there is not one single experience of black womanhood. There are a variety of experiences, of perspectives, even for women or girls living in the same environment. Just because two women or just because two girls live in the same environment doesn't mean that they will have the same perspective on life, doesn't mean that they will have the same feeling toward their experiences, the same vision. So clearly, it is a call for moving away from the unidimensional, monolithic representation of black girlhood and black womanhood. It's a big job, but we can do it. You just have to give us more space.